Hello.
How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
How are you? How are you?
How are you? How about now?
Or the kids, they come from, we call it the slums. And slums is a place, is kind of improvised living. It's whereby it's a very small space and they can live like, I don't know how to explain it, but let's say like count 5 steps by 5 steps. That's one room. And then that can house about 7 people in that home, in that room. And water is scarce, sanitation is very poor, and living conditions are very congested. So the children we support, most of them they are affected by HIV and AIDS. And because of that, we find in many cases the parents are either dead, and in some cases they are alive. And that makes it that maybe they are living with a grandparent, and this grandparent may have siblings from like 2 children, and that's why you find that the house or the room is congested. When children come into this program, in many cases we find that they are shy because of their background. They are shy because they have not been able to get the normal needs a human may need, even at school. They are shy because most of the time they are chased away from school because of lack of school fees, and that's the trend in Kenya. If you don't pay, you don't get education. So they are chased at home, and they look at themselves as different children, not like normal growing up children with a normal family. So they shy off from the world, from the people they meet, and they look at themselves as if they will never make it in life.
Yes? Yeah, according to the passage, they say that visitors in our school come to see the head teacher. Everybody?
The visitors in our school come to see the head teacher.
Another?
A carpenter
Makes furniture.
again.
Makes furniture.
Carpenter makes
Furniture.
good. A carpenter makes
Mke kama ndama kwa shuleni bidii alifanya bidii masomoni. Hakuwa kama wewe usiyependa masomo.
But when they get into the program, then they have to interact with other children through the Saturday development program, through camps, and through caseworkers and talking to them. And we've seen them change, and they come to appreciate themselves, and they can smile, and they can have joy, and that's what we are happy about, that it's a program that changes their life. It's a program that changes the way they look at life, the way they grow, and they appreciate themselves, and they see themselves as members of the society.
Takeaway from that very first camp, we had about 70 kids in our program, and I remember looking up in the trees around the compound, and I easily saw 70 kids sitting in trees watching the kids in our program, because it was just, that was more entertaining, more interesting, more new than anything they'd ever seen before. Kids could go on field trips, they could do hiking outdoors, see things they'd never see, would never see in Nairobi. For many of these kids, it's the first time they'd actually seen their own African wildlife. One of the people brought in and talked about what volcanoes are, and had the kids build a volcano out of various chemicals, and then they actually had it erupt. The kids then competed for who could build the strongest bridge out of paper and paper clips. And so a typical day at camp is a couple of teams are off doing a field trip. The rest of them are getting education. They're writing their sponsors. They're working on their essays for the annual assessment reports we send out. And then in the afternoon, they'll be playing strategic games and team competition games. And then at night, we'll get together for movies or a variety show or skits or a dance. The wonderful value of the American volunteers. They bring new knowledge, new activities, and new experience to these kids that they just can't get exposed to any other way. We also bring to camp a different method of learning and education, which is far more interactive. Going off, having group discussions, coming back, presenting, hands-on activities in small groups. Really important thing that Peter realized very early on was that making it out of poverty is a hard slog. And one of the things that he felt was really, really valuable about camp was teaching and helping cultivate a culture within the kids in the program. Many of these kids, they form their very closest friends from kids within the program, and camp is a big part of that. They learn a set of values, the appreciation for being sponsored, what that really means, how unique that is, how hard they have to work to make it out. And every camp seems to have one kid or another at some point say, the best way I can thank my sponsor for what they've done for me is to work really hard at school. And that kind of culture, that kind of value permeates across more and more of the kids.
Actually, what happens to them is, I would say the biggest thing I really appreciate with them is they get self-esteem in their life. And then they also get a purpose of life. And they also start realizing that they should have goals in life, and they start kind of trying to achieve those goals. And by doing so, that's when we know that they are being transformed, and they are trying to get to know one time I can be also a contributing member of the society.